Yo, come inside of me. It's Tony. It's Monday. Ask me anything Monday, advice day. Completely forgot to drop a pod on Free Ball Friday. I am forgetting I have a podcast. I don't know what that says about me as a person or as a podcaster, but forgot. Just wasn't doing it on purpose, wasn't keeping something from you. Just genuinely forgot it was something I have to do. Obviously, I need a Google Calendar, like some sort of digital robotic S&M relationship where the AI is telling me what to do, but I don't like AI. And B, no, I don't want to do that though. So I'm having a little bit of an issue figuring out my life. I do have a, what's it called? An analog calendar, like a piece of paper that I use. So maybe what I should do is write down on that piece of paper, record a cod past. I almost said cod past. That's funny. Record a cod past, you dumb bitch. I need a better strategy. I need help. I need you. Oh, are you supporting the Patreon? Have you looked at the tiers? There's so many good tiers. There's so many ways to get to know me. There's so many opportunities for you to do one-on-one sessions with me, creatively collaborate. You can creatively collaborate with me. I can promote your work if I enjoy it. And if it's just like if it's not like, again, if you're not supporting the police state and you're doing something artistic, I'm down to clown with you. So go to the Patreon, support it. Are you sharing this pod? Are you telling people to listen? Are you commenting? Are you rating? Are you reviewing? I haven't even looked at the stats of this. I don't know if you're rating or reviewing it because I refuse to go on to Spotify right now because of genocide, and Apple Music hard, also genocide. I'm having a hard time with these platforms, trying to find a platform that doesn't support genocide to broadcast this podcast to you. The phone is probably supporting genocide. I'm having a hard time avoiding genocide right now. I don't know about y'all. So I am here for you today. We are going to just do one question because this person wrote like a thoughtful message and I really wanted to spend some time with it. I am not at my best. I don't think I've been at my best for a very long time now. But last night I woke up at 4 in the morning with a burning right nipple. Yeah, just the worst sensation. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. To be honest, I couldn't even fall asleep until 4 because of the burning sensation of the right nipple. And it also brings back a serious PTSD because if you have been following me for a couple years now, you will know that 2 years ago I got an infectious skin disease when I swam in LA. I swam in the I swam off of the Santa Monica Pier. And was that a good idea? Absolutely not. Was there trash floating around? There was. Was there active bird shit in the water? Yes. Was there even pieces of bird in the water? There was. But there was other people swimming. You know what I mean? And I felt like, oh, these people are swimming. I too shall swim. Turned out I found out retrospectively there was some like spillage of human waste that had happened, and they did close down the beaches like a week later. So I think I was just unlucky in that circumstance. My daughter also swam in the shit infested feces water. She was fine. She has a better immune system than I. So she made it out, but I had an infectious skin disease for 6 weeks. It was really intense. Also, because I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know it was a bacterial infection. It attacked me in both nipples, especially in the right, and in the right vag, not the left vag, the right vag. There was also, where else was it? It was horrendous. I did do a video about it. Maybe I should do a whole stand-up bit about the horror of this infectious skin disease that I had. So to wake up at 4 in the morning with a burning right nipple just really brought me back to that 6-week experience that also happened in the summer. Summers are hard for me. I don't like that. Summers, I'm always like, things go on. Things are hard. All this emotional fucking shit is happening. constantly, and emotions bore me. So I'm like, I'm spiritually fatigued. I'm bored of my own emotional landscape, and I'm really hoping this right nipple resolves. So can you please just close your eyes for a second, picture my right nipple, and send it love. um it's just a normal looking nipple if you want to picture it. It's just like the average nip, you know. I don't know. It's just a nipple, okay? We all have one. Just picture my nipple and send it love. Can you fucking do that for me? Man, so I did not sleep well. Not to excuse myself for my attitude, but just to provide context of what's going on with me. Why am I not thriving? Genocide, obviously. The police state, ICE. And pedo, Jeffrey Epstein. Also a context of which I would not thrive. And the nipple and the lack of sleep. All right, let's go. Let's read this question. Um, all right, here it is. Dear Tony, I deeply appreciate you, your work, and your insights. I really like that when someone says that. I'd love to hear your perspective on forgiveness when it comes to the physical boundaries of a feminine person being crossed by a masculine person. This is the kind of thing that I know can be totally dependent upon an individual and the nature of the boundary crossing. I am a feminine person who's unfortunately experienced a variety of boundary crossing from masculine folk throughout her life. Many I've forgiven, and there are a few that I've just been able to yet. I'm not sure what she means by that. For most of the ones I've been able to forgive, I've at least had the power of choice to keep them out of my life. All right. I get what she's saying. She can forgive them because she doesn't have to deal with them in her everyday existence. A few years ago, though, a boundary crossing occurred with a person that has challenged my ability to do this. My long-term partner's brother one night got beyond wasted at a gathering, and he crossed my boundaries twice. The second time in such a way to where I had to shove him off of me and yell at him to get him away from me. Okay. I think we're all picturing this story. She's with her longtime partner. So this is someone she's very committed to. His brother was getting handsy with her. But he was drunk, but handsy, you know? All right. Having experienced these kinds of boundary crossing from someone I expected I could feel safe around wounded me deeply. I was a mess for days after this happened, and in the years since it happened, spent many therapy sessions trying to transmute the trauma of this experience through EMDR. Ooh, EMDR, wonderful. The boundary crossing happened 5 years ago, and my partner's been very supportive, but it's still been hard for me to be a part of family gatherings where his brother's included. Dude always tries to say hi to me, and I feel like I can't even look or speak to him. He's married too, and last year was the first time I found the courage to ask his wife if she knew about what he did to me. She said she had been aware, but had never known how to bring it up to me. And while she expressed compassion for what I experienced, she also made several excuses for him and his behavior that was hurtful to hear. Oof. There's a lot. This is why I wanted to commit this whole podcast to this story, right? I really appreciate her like really going in, because we can like fully get. I trust this person as a narrator because she's giving us a lot to chew on, right? A lot of perspectives to look at. So while thankfully I don't see him or his wife often, I inevitably do see them a few times a year because I care about sharing life with my partner and the rest of his family. Respect. I'm saying respect. I can't forgive my partner's brother yet, and am still processing my partner's brother's wife's response to the situation. Understandable. So at gatherings, I'm currently putting up blockers and just trying to avoid interacting with them. That makes sense. Sometimes I'm saying my thoughts, but you get it. The outcome of this is that the family gatherings are going smoothly in the sense that no fights are breaking out or meltdowns are occurring on the spot, but it still takes so much energy for me to internally balance my trigger responses and put up the blockers. Ooh, you feel her, right? I feel her. This is the first time I've read this email, by the way. I only knew it was thoughtful because, again, I don't want to read emails before I talk about them because how can I authentically channel? I looked at it like with my eyes blurry, and I was like, this is an authentic story. We must give it time. You know what I mean? Okay, here we go. I've been getting curious about whether this energy exertion could be alleviated if I could somehow forgive him for what he did. But there's still so much anger and grief that rises up when I consider this. I don't know if it's something that's supposed to happen, if it ever will yet. My brother's partner's wife did ask at one point if there's anything they could do to make this better. I couldn't come up with a response, but I'm curious what your thoughts might be on this kind of injury and or this whole scenario, and how it is an echo of lessons and dynamics that are playing out in the macro level. I mean, if this is too lengthy or specific question to address, it's all good. Thanks for reading and holding space. Oh my goodness. Okay, so thank you to this person deeply for sharing this story with us. I really appreciate the time you took. And I also hope that writing it down in a way that you could tell she was trying to, like, this is a person that's really trying not to allow like debris, you know, like she's very aware and conscientious, I feel, of how she's expressing herself to be as quote unquote rational slash reasonable slash objective slash neutral as possible. I did not feel this was charged. Like when I was reading it, I did not feel her charge. I did not feel that she was in a blame culture mentality, a victim consciousness. She was really, I think, like just expressing her truth and the facts that happened and how it impacted her. And I think that I am grateful to this kind of storytelling, because when we as an audience hear storytelling that can like hold this kind of neutrality yet at the same time, I think she's holding her own humanity and her emotions. It can give us a platform of which to discuss something that is nuanced and complicated. And this is, I think, important. So, all right, when I think back to the Me Too movement, I think of stories like Louis C.K. I think of stories like Aziz Ansari. I mean, obviously those are both comics, but they were both stories that people were divided on how to internalize these stories. Because when you have a very extreme story, like a Harvey Weinstein, like a Bill Cosby, like a Kevin Spacey, you know, you have these, it's like, oh yeah, that's grape. Okay, no one's really confused if the definition is grape. They're agreeing that like, if this were to be true, it's grape. And then the debate can be like whether or not it actually happened. With Louis C.K. or Aziz Ansari, there was two debates happening. A, whether it happened or not. There's always the, you know, the confusion when two people are telling a story, what actually happened. So you could doubt the story, but also people were doubting, well, is that actually even sexual assault? You know, is that grape? What is grape? And this is why I wrote a whole show called Grape Culture. It's a tragic comedy with my homie, my artistic collaborator, Serafina Supernova. We wrote a show called Grape Culture. It is a tragic comedy about this subject, exactly because of this issue, because there is a lot of confusion around the definition. And people can feel differently. Some people would say that this person, like, maybe a French woman would be like, she's over exaggerating. This is how men are, you know. This wasn't a great French accent. Wait, let me try again. This is how the men are. Men are this way. Okay, I need to work on my accents. I could see an argument of people saying, he was drunk. Men act up like this. I could also see an argument that some men would say, well, you know, like, so what? He was attracted to you. You should be flattered. He thought you're hot and he like wanted to grab you or whatever. There's all sorts of mental gymnastics that people can do to minimize this experience that this person has gone through, right? So that is also the problem, is that she's bringing to us a story that you could debate whether or not it's a quote unquote big deal. All right. But she's telling us in very plain words, It's been a huge fucking deal to her. She's been doing therapy around it. She's been doing EMDR. It's taking up a lot of her life. It's taking up a lot of her brain space. When she goes to these family functions, she's emotionally exhausted from doing the emotional labor of holding on to this assault that happened to her while simultaneously trying to be polite and trying to just like go to a family gathering and not bring up a rape culture every time she's there. Okay? Grape culture. So this is impacting her life. And whether or not you want to argue if it was a big deal, she's very clearly articulating that it was a big deal to her. And I think the thing that she said that was very important is that this is not her first rodeo. This is not the first time that a man has crossed her physical boundaries. So what she's experiencing is not just about this one incident with the brother. No, this is a compounding of multiple incidents. But as she said very clearly, those other incidents, she doesn't have to interact with those men anymore. She can say, okay, like, I don't want to be in your presence. Therefore, I don't have to do the emotional labor of making you feel like it was okay to assault me. And so I think that's the thing that's kind of interesting that the wife is also doing. She's saying, how can you make it okay that the brother or my husband assaulted you? Because this is uncomfortable. And I think this is the thing that like white people often do to non-white people is like, can you make racism okay? Can you make me not feel bad about that? Because I don't like feeling this like white guilt. I don't like feeling like bad about white supremacy. So can you just like pardon me from that? Can you excuse me from that? And it's the same thing with this current circumstance is like both the brother and the wife are like, we feel bad. Can you like make us not feel bad? And that also is emotional labor. So I did a podcast last week about emotional labor. It was last Monday. Last Ask Me Anything. So please listen to that emotional labor one. But this is a great example of emotional labor. So what is the advice I want to give to this person is one, the thing we have to recognize on the micro level of her current situation and the macro level of society. I want to mention the alcohol because she mentioned the alcohol. And alcohol is very much a part of our culture. It is entwined, it is embedded, it is how people connect socially, it is at almost every social gathering. People really minimize the impacts of alcohol on each other's lives. And I violently disagree with that. I think alcohol is incredibly impactful. I think alcohol is a huge deal. And I think we need to be honest about that. So the alcohol within this scenario, of course, does not excuse this guy's behavior. Not at all. But it explains something that's going on, is that any grown man who's getting that wasted at a family gathering is using alcohol as a coping mechanism, is using alcohol to deal with trauma, is using alcohol to deal with whatever his emotional landscape is that he doesn't want to deal with. Alcohol is a coping mechanism for this guy. And when alcohol is a coping mechanism for you, and you know it's a coping mechanism for you, P.S., I'll tell you, if you're getting wasted in inappropriate situations, like a family fucking gathering, if you are drinking every day, that means that alcohol is your coping mechanism. I don't care if it's a glass of wine. I honestly don't care. I'm not trying to shame you for it. I'm just trying to let you know you're using alcohol as a coping mechanism and it's dangerous. And I highly recommend you find other coping mechanisms and do not drink every day. Drinking every day is toxic. It is toxic, toxic, toxic. And I'm sorry if that upsets you, and I'm not trying to make you mad at me. I'm really not. I think the same thing about weed. If you're smoking weed every single day, y'all, it's a coping mechanism that is not going to serve you. And let me tell you why it's not going to serve you. It's the same thing as homeopathy, right? Homeopathy is you use plant medicine in order to heal, and you use a little bit of the medicine. But if you keep doing your homeopathy, you will get the exact opposite effect of the plant. Anything that you're doing every single day that is psychotropic, that is messing with your psychology, that is interfering with your brain is something to examine, not to shame. And maybe you're like, well, it's what I'm doing right now. Goddess bless. But I wouldn't gaslight yourself into thinking that it's not a coping mechanism and that using a plant as a coping mechanism or alcohol as a coping mechanism is deeply rooted in addiction. And maybe you're not ready to deal with the addiction. That's also real. And maybe you are. And maybe this is a sign for you to be like, maybe I am addicted to something. And maybe I do want to find a different coping mechanism that isn't using an outside stimulant or plant or alcohol or whatever to deal with life. So that's my PSA. That's my TED Talk. We could get much deeper into that if you want to send me questions about it. I have tons of opinions and thoughts, and I support you on your journey, you know? So I think that what we know of this brother is that he is using alcohol as a coping mechanism, which means that there is a part of himself that he is hiding from. There's a part of himself that he does not want to face. And one of the parts of himself that he does not want to face is probably being attracted to his brother's partner. So, like, that's not comfortable. And why is he attracted to her? Probably 1,000 reasons. She could be physically beautiful. I'm sure she is. She seems very smart. So, like, this is the thing about attraction, is that some people are attracted to you because they think you're physically hot, but some people are attracted to you because you have these personality traits that they envy, that they want. You know, it's like it's a succubus energy. I don't know if you know what a succubus is, but a succubus is a mythological creature where it's deemed feminine, but I think anyone can be a succubus, where the succubus kind of gets with someone in order to suck their talents from them. So the exchange of the relationship is to like gather their talents, gather their offerings, gather their codes, but in a way that's extractive. I think when people come together and there's a mutual exchange, that's not succubus energy. That's just like you're sharing codes with someone, your spirit guides are talking, you're both bettering yourself within each other's presence because you're sharing wisdom. Succubus energy is like, oh, this person has something that I don't have that I want, and therefore I am going to like suck that from them. So my instinct in this particular situation, because this is the partner's brother, who probably did not feel comfortable admitting their like strong feelings for their partner's brother, because he has strong feelings for her if he's going to be groping her. And the groping, I do believe, is beyond just physical attraction or physical desire or grape culture. I think there's something, and just this is just my opinion, and this person can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think that the writer of this email has an essence, has an emotional maturity, a spiritual maturity, an intelligence that this guy wanted for himself, which was part of the grope. You know what I'm saying? He was like having the succubus energy towards her. And the alcohol was just giving him an opportunity to not feel like emotionally responsible for his actions. So this is what people do all the time with alcohol. It's like, you know, people say there's like that common idea like alcohol shows who you really are. Yes and no. Like what it's doing, it's removing inhibitions. We all know that, but it's giving you an excuse for whatever your toxic behavior is. You can kind of be like, oh, well, I was drunk. Oopsie, you know, that wasn't really me. It's like, it's a hall pass in your own mind. It's your own gaslighting to not take full responsibility for your actions. But this was something that whatever the energy of the group was happening in sober states. Like whatever succubus energy that this brother had for this woman, he was having it sober, he was having it drunk, he would have it in a car, he would have it on the moon. I feel like Dr. Seuss, but he would have it within any context because he had strong feelings for this person and they were confused emotions. So this is the other thing I think about men, and this is a generalization and men are down to argue with me, but I think men are socialized to confuse all reverence for women with sexuality. Men are confused around how women fit into their lives beyond sexual impulse. And I don't know if you've heard of Eve Ensler. Eve Ensler was the woman who wrote the Vagina Monologues. She's an amazing activist, an amazing woman, really interesting woman. I highly recommend you investigate her work. no matter your gender, like Eve Ensler is a badass bitch, but she talks a lot about, women and assault and her experience with vagina. But anyone can benefit from this. But Eve Ensler wrote what I think to be the most important book ever written. It's called The Apology, and it's a book that is a letter to her dead father. So her dead father, actually, wait a minute, no, it's a letter to her from her dead father that she channeled. Thank you. That's what it is. So her father died, and her father abused her emotionally and physically and sexually. And she wrote this book where she was channeling her father's perspective. It is unbelievable. So I am going to recommend that the person that wrote this email read The Apology, because it is an unbelievable work of art. I actually recommend every single person listening to this read this book. I do not care your gender, if you've experienced sexual assault, if you've not experienced sexual assault, does not matter. Read the fucking book if you want to understand society. It is so well done, and it's not long. It took me a plane ride from Boston to Idaho. I was going to Idaho to perform a comedy show, and I cried the entire plane ride reading this book. And I'm not a crier, as y'all know about me. Not a big crier. Wept the whole time. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a little spoiler, even though I just told you to read the book, but whatever the fuck. It's not like I'm not spoiling anything, but I'm going to tell you one of her theses. And I want to accredit her because this thesis changed my life. So I'm sorry I have to now I'm telling you to read a book, and now I'm telling you an insight about the book, but just fucking deal with it, okay? So, she talked about, from her father's perspective, the tenderness that her father had felt for her, and how he did not know what to do with this level of tenderness. It felt so vulnerable, so unsafe, so just out of body, that he sexualized the tenderness, because that's what he was socialized and conditioned to do. And I think that is very fucking common amongst men, is that they feel strong feelings towards a woman and they assume it's sexual. And you know what? I'm actually going to say that women do this to men as well. And we assume these strong feelings we have for each other are always supposed to be sexual if we're in heterosexual relationships. And, and then I guess the same thing if you're bisexual or gay. You might also, a gay man could be with a gay man, or a lesbian and lesbian, or whoever and whoever, and you can have a strong connection with someone, and the assumption is always that it's supposed to be sexual. But I think with men specifically, because there is the power imbalance because of patriarchy, obvi, and this imbalance that this woman has already been sexually assaulted by men, okay? She already has a history of this. So I feel as if what happened is that the brother just had these strong confused emotions for this woman. And maybe part of it was admiration, maybe part of it was genuine attraction, but maybe part of it was just curiosity and just wanting to be her friend, all of these things. But he doesn't have the capacity to just understand the complex nuance of all his feelings. So he's grab her, just fucking grab her. And I think that's what men are socialized and conditioned to do. And that is something that we see over and over and over again. So I think the main thing that we have to recognize is that this is not an individual problem. This is a massive cultural problem. And I just made a video about this yesterday. Please watch my video. I understand it is 4 minutes and 15 seconds, which is longer than the average video. And did I try to make it shorter? Yeah, I did, but I didn't know what else to cut out. And I'm can people listen to me for just 4 minutes and 15 seconds about grape culture? I was wiggling my body around. I did do a dance for you. It's an interpretive dance about grape culture. But if we're looking at Jeffrey Epstein, if we're looking at the Trumpy dumpies of the world, and we're looking at how grape is used for political blackmail, how grape is used for political control, this would not be an effective strategy of blackmail and control if it wasn't incredibly easy to get these people to grape. Okay? It is very easy. It is not difficult. So wrap your head around that. And the reason why it's not easy is because it is very fucking common. Grape consciousness, and I talk about this in the video. Watch the video, share the video. Please, for the love of goddess, share my fucking work if you like it. But if you recognize that this is so ubiquitous and so common, it's not about this brother being an individual monster. He's not an individual monster. He's part of a collective consciousness, as we all are. And he happens to be executing the consciousness of dominating someone without their consent. He obviously was not concerned of whether or not his groping would have an impact on this woman. He did not concern himself with that. And if there's any advice I could give this woman, is that like, here she is doing all this emotional labor. I do recommend you give the labor back to the person that put you in the situation, which is this guy. He should be doing the labor. You shouldn't feel fucking uncomfortable around him. He should feel uncomfortable around you. You did not do anything wrong. That's the thing, is that the victim carries the burden of the act. And I think the thing that and this is my personal opinion, and this might be controversial, but I fully believe that if we talked about grape more and we felt really comfortable, especially victims talking about situations more and openly and being like, oh yeah, that brother, I'm not that interested in hanging out with him because he mauled me one day. She should be able to say that to any person in that family, and that is not wrong. That is not upsetting. That's actually just what happened. And he should feel uncomfortable with what happens. And if he wants to bring up the conversation, he can pull her aside and say, I would like to do mediation with you. I would like to hire a professional and do mediation, and I would like to apologize to you. How can you forgive someone who's not sorry? How can you forgive someone who hasn't shared reality with you? And I think that's the thing that's difficult, is here is this woman carrying the burden. He should carry the burden. He was the one who groped her. Am I wrong? I don't think you can disagree with me here. And I think this is the problem, is that the victims carry the burden of the act, and the victims feel like, oh, I have to make everyone feel so comfortable about me being assaulted. Absolutely not. You don't have to make anyone feel comfortable about it. This is why I talk about grape so openly. I talk about it in every situation. Every situation I'm in, I will talk about it. If it comes up naturally, I'm not going to just bring it up at a birthday party. I'm not going to be at a funeral and be like, oh yeah, don't forget grape, everybody. But if it comes up naturally, I will never censor myself about my own story, a story of another. If someone is like, oh, I'm sorry if this is too much information to talk about. Absolutely not. It is never too much information to talk about. If you feel like you want to talk about your grape to me, you can, and I welcome it. And I understand if you've been graped and that's triggering to you to hear about another grape, respect. But you should be able to say, oh, I've been graped and I'm triggered about hearing about grape. This is the thing. It's like it's so uncomfortable to talk about for some reason. And so how can we heal something that we don't look at? How can we heal if we don't open our hands and be like, oh, what I'm holding in my hands is grape culture, so I have to look at it, I have to talk about it. So I think my other advice is that look, this brother, it wasn't he's part of a consciousness, and that consciousness, what you can forgive in any person that's graping is that they are being poisoned by a collective consciousness. They are being poisoned by programming. They're being poisoned by conditioning. They're being poisoned by something that exists that is beyond them. So in that way, that is real. And it wouldn't be part of the collective consciousness if it wasn't happening with so many different people. And it's happening all the time. Truly never met a woman who hasn't experienced some sort of sexual assault, some sort of grapey energy. Does that mean that every single man on planet Earth is bad? Absolutely not. But does it mean that patriarchy breeds grape culture? Yes, it does. Does it mean that grape culture is our culture? Yes, it does. It does mean that. I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to say the word hyperbole yet again. I'm going to say the word hyperbolic on this podcast until y'all realize that I mean what I fucking say. This is not an exaggeration. We live in a grape culture, period, period, period. Hook, line, and sinker. So, does that absolve anyone from blame? No. Does it explain action? Yes. What is the dance? The dance is understanding that this is a collective problem, and that the individual is part of the collective, yet the individual is still responsible for their actions. So I recommend that this writer of the email put down the emotional baggage of thinking that she has to be the one carrying it. She doesn't have to make anyone feel comfortable about this. Not her partner, not the brother, not the wife. And if the brother wants like reconciliation, he has to initiate that. Send him this podcast or have your partner send him this podcast. I don't, make it open. Open up the floodgates of conversation. And you don't have to forgive him for him, but what you can do is like feel the horror of the consciousness, feel the sadness of the consciousness, feel the compassion for the fact that this consciousness has infiltrated people, because what a fucking bummer. What a fucking bummer to grope someone without their consent. Like that you're missing the plot. If you're going around graping, you're missing something. You may think, oh, it feels so good to grape. Nah, I don't think so, my dude. I don't think it does. I think momentarily people obviously love graping. It used to be a reward for war, okay? Like you would go to war and then like you would risk your life. You would risk your fucking life to fight for the state, and then your reward would be like you get to grape the villagers. And men would be like, woohoo! Yay! Yes! Like, so obviously people love graping. I'm not saying they don't enjoy it, but I think the spiritual consequence of that action is impactful. And I think grape is like meth, it's like doing anything. I think there's a come down and I think there's a consequence. You may enjoy it in the moment, but I enjoyed meth in the moment. Meth is a wonderful drug in the moment. Had a great time. I understand why people do meth. Would not question why you would do meth. It is a good time, especially if you like to be productive and clean. But there are consequences of doing meth. It's the same thing. Grape is a drug. You grape someone, you feel that adrenaline, and then you will have the come down of that. And there will be spiritual consequences. There will be energetic consequences. It's like these people are tied together. Every time she feels the pain of this groping and of this assault, he's also feeling it. He's feeling the pain, except he's denying it. He's gaslighting himself. He's doing the mental gymnastics to explain it away. But really what this guy has to do is recognize, holy fuck, what I did was assault, and I am so fucking sorry. And the only thing I can do is not ask for you to forgive me, but forgive myself and to learn from this and to do my best to honor this person who I assaulted and let them know that I live in the reality of acknowledging how my behavior impacted them. And that's all he can do. And all she can do is recognize that whether or not he's changing and whether or not he's adopting a new way of being and thinking. Honestly, this could be incredibly healing for the brother and the wife and his future if he were to just fucking address what he did honestly. Addressing what you do and forgiving yourself and being real with yourself is important. And this is why I'm not into shame. I'm not shaming this brother. I understand why this brother did this. It didn't happen to me, so I can have a different sort of compassion. I can go through and if I could talk to this brother and analyze what's his childhood and what's his relationship to women and da-da-da-da. We could go through a whole list of understanding how this guy got to this point in his life, and we can have compassion for it, not to excuse it, but to have compassion for the fact that he is a victim of culture and he is a victim of society, as we all are. But that does not mean he has to act out. That does not mean he cannot grow. That does not mean he cannot change. That does not mean he cannot self-evolve and improve. So I'm not shaming him for being and engaging in grape culture. I am not shaming anyone who does that because it is culture. But I'm telling you, you gotta fucking address it and you gotta fucking heal and you gotta be real with yourself. And if you don't face it, you can't forgive yourself. And guess what? When you're older, it's gonna manifest in disease. You're gonna be heart failure. You're gonna be blood problems. You're gonna have an issue with your kidneys because of guilt. And I had a watch affirmation in the middle of that, and if you heard it or not, your kidneys are gonna have major problems, and also this guy's liver because of the drinking. So, long story long, is that Thank you for sharing. I think this is a larger conversation that, like, I hope listening to this, you can see that the multiple perspectives are important into looking at. We forgot about the wife. Okay, we cannot get out of this podcast without talking about the wife. I hope I haven't been going on and on for too long. I try to keep this podcast short, but sometimes I go on and on. Let's please talk about the wife. The wife is like wanting to be with this husband. Obviously, she wants to be with him. So of course, she's trying to excuse his behavior. And where I'm telling her that that's a disservice to her and to him is that it's not about excusing the behavior. It's about holding him accountable. It's about him having a come to goddess moment. And this wife, if you want to stay with your husband who sexually assaults people, you can do that. And no shame to that. However, he must understand and like reconcile with what he did, because if he's doing that to other women, how is the grief consciousness showing up in your marriage? How is it showing up for you? How is it showing up for your connection to him? It is. There's no way that this wife is like getting away with not experiencing the grape culture consciousness within this brother. She is. So for her to address it honestly, and for her to have boundaries, and for her to say, no, my dude, you're actually going to heal from this. You're going to address this. You're going to face this. That would be beneficial to her. That would be beneficial to all women. So I think the thing about women being complacent to grapey men, women being complicit to grapey men, protecting grapey men, is harming them. It's harming you, my dude. It's harming you, my girl. Don't let it happen. Like, I think she's insecure. So the reason why she's being complicit and enabling him is because she wants to be with him because she's insecure. She thinks that she deserves a grapey guy, I guess. Or she loves him, or a little bit of both. You know what I mean? But like, I'm sorry. I think we can have standards for our husbands not to assault people. And if they do, I think we can really hold them accountable. And we can have a standard around that. And we can say, look, I want to be a part of your healing. I don't want to leave you. But I will leave you if you don't heal from this, if you don't work on this, if you don't admit to this, if you don't make this right. Like, the fact that this woman is being like, well, what could he do? What could he do to help? What could he do? You know what he could fucking do, girl. You know what he can do. He can take fucking personal accountability and responsibility. So again, it's like the wife is doing the same gaslighting, the same mental gymnastics of putting the emotional burden on this woman who experienced the assault, putting the emotional burden on the victim. Can you just forgive him? Can you just like let this go? Because it'll be easier for us, so we don't have to actually face it. No, sorry, you both have to face it. And if you're afraid to give your husband an ultimatum that like, hey, you have to face your grave consciousness or I don't want to be with you, then that means that you're like deeply insecure, because you can be with a man who's not infiltrated by grave consciousness. There are men out there who are working on this, who would be down to work on it, and you can find him. Or you can inspire your man to become that man. I do believe in change. I can't tell you that enough. I fully believe in change. I have seen people change with my own fucking eyes. I will say that every podcast. I have seen it. I believe people can grow and evolve and change. I'm not saying that we have to throw these people out and just be like, they're shitty people and they're never gonna fucking be different. Maybe that is true, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I want to believe in the possibility. However, I do not want the writer of this email to feel emotionally responsible for the family, for this brother or this wife. You can put that down. You can put that the motherfuck down. All you did was experience something. You didn't do anything wrong. I think that's the thing that we have to remember. Is a victim just experienced something, and you should feel completely comfortable talking about it in whatever scenario you fucking want. Even if it makes other people uncomfortable. That's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. If I say this all the time, if you were robbed, if someone robbed you, you wouldn't feel uncomfortable being like, oh yeah, I got robbed. If your husband's brother robbed you, you would tell everybody, oh, he robbed me. But he did rob you. He robbed you of like a sense of innocence, a sense of safety in your body. He robbed you of something deep within you that you've been doing EMDR about for years. You know, like, it is a robbery. So why can someone rob you of your money and not of a piece of your spirit? And like, one you can talk about and one you have to only like whisper about. Shh. Fuck that. No. Talk about the robbery of your spirit within grape culture. Fuck that in the fucking fart bucket. No. In this capitalist culture, you can only talk about if someone robs you of money or your car. Fuck you. No, you can talk about being robbed of your spirit. Okay, so that's the pod for today. I love you guys. Maybe I got a little heated. Please watch the video I posted yesterday. It's an interpretive dance. Please support the Patreon. Please share this pod. I think I've told this to you again. The Patreon's cool. Get to know me. Get to know me. Do a session with me. Do a healing session with me. Do a creative coaching session with me. Let me be your mommy. Let me be your daddy. Let me be your best friend. All of these things. I love you. Thank you for listening. Share, care, bears. Bye.